Whoa, welcome back, guys. Are we gonna have two videos this week? That's crazy. Well, in case you don't read thumbnails and you just click on a video randomly, we're gonna be talking about the quintessential quintuplets today. And yeah, let's just get into it. So, I've seen a lot of people and a lot of communities, specifically like the manga community, on Reddit, and a lot of people in general praising this show called the Quintessential Quintuplets. And in case you live under a rock and don't know anything about this show, it's basically about this guy named Uesugi who is dirt poor, and he takes on a job to tutor 5 sisters, and they're all quintuplets. Pretty basic story. It sounds, just like another harem romance genre, of anime. And in this video, I'm gonna be talking about why I really don't think it's as good as people make it out to be. I'm mainly gonna be using Mother's Basement video for my basis on talking why I don't think it is as good as people make it out to be. This is in no way me criticizing his video, but this is just me using his videos and the things that he says as an example to explain my point of view on this anime. And yeah, let's just get into it. So the first point I really want to talk about is he mentions how it's wholesome. And I can kind of see where he's coming from, I can tell that he definitely has watched a lot of Harem in his, maybe in his earlier years as an anime fan. And to anybody who is, anywhere close to or knows anything about anime, they have definitely stumbled upon harem anime in general. And as a kind of, staple among harem anime, you typically have it as ecchi as well, or it's accompanied with romance, or romance and ecchi. And I think this is where, people first get the kind of impression that the quintessential quintuplets is not your typical harem. And in my opinion, it definitely is. Just because the quintessential quintuplets doesn't have the ecchi tag, and it doesn't have the type of fan service that is typical in most harem anime, does not make it wholesome. I mean, it doesn't make it, any better than a harem anime that have the ecchi tag. And what I'm not saying is that it isn't wholesome. I mean, as far as I know, I've only watched 5 episodes of it. I've read a little bit of the manga. It's just another harem to me. And it's not really, doesn't really do anything very different from a lot of the different tropes that I've seen in previous harem anime. Calling it wholesome is a little bit of a stretch. I think that with the character design and of these 5 girls, they are, let's just say, very heavily busted. And even if it doesn't necessarily show cleavage or doesn't show, fan service, I think to a certain degree, just the character designs alone, lend to the imagination of the viewer, having them be massively, overtly, have massive tits. And it's just, I don't necessarily think that in and of itself makes it wholesome. You would be correct if you're watching this video and thinking, yeah, it doesn't have fan service. Yes, the quintessential quintuplets definitely does not have your typical, panty shot. Oh, you pervert, even though, in the second episode, or what chapter, maybe the 10th something chapter, we see Uesugi-san walk into their apartment with Nino naked. I mean, that's the only thing that really stands out to me as of this point, because I haven't read a ton of the story. But even without the fan service, calling it wholesome is a slight stretch of the word. The second thing that I want to get into, the second thing that Mother's Basement mentioned in his video, was the talk about how the tropes in it lend to the overall strength of the story. Now, I think that anime as a medium in general, it has to come up with different defining features for its anime to stand out amongst the rest, seeming as we get more and more of the content every season and more of it is getting saturated. I think that having these different tropes and having these different gimmicks in the anime overall is something that has to be done in order to keep things fresh. We see this in harem anime like Nisekoi, which he mentioned, them being of rival factions or, familiar of Zero. These kind of shows stand out amongst the rest by the interesting characters and the interesting tropes that it takes. The Quintessential Quintuplets, obviously taking the tropes of one is a teacher and they suck at school. I don't necessarily think that it strengthens the story. I think that in general, tropes in harem anime stand to make it very cliched, honestly. It doesn't necessarily stand out from other anime in general. Several times in the video, Mother's Basement mentioned the distinctness and the set in stone of the characters and how they have good sides and they have bad traits and all these things. They have definite personalities. But at the same time, many people and many anime fans complain about cookie cutter or stereotypical, anime people and anime characters and settings, and it starts to feel like there's a little bit of a double-edged sword here. At this one point, you have these defining characteristics that make it great, and on the other hand, if you have a tsundere in it, you're just considered stereotypical and cliched. I don't necessarily think that these different stereotypes in Quintessential Quintuplets take away from the story. I think overall the story is good. It's better than a lot of harem romance anime, and it's not necessarily bad, but it's just not as good as what people think it is. The other thing I want to touch on is that the implementation of waifus in anime, and this is kind of specific to harem as a genre, because harem anime inherently has to make their cast appeal to a certain demographic of person. We see this in Quintessential Quintuplets with the different personalities. You have Nino as the standoffish, you have Miku as the bookworm, you have Yotsuba as the friendly go-getter, you have the older sister archetype. I can't remember them off the top of my head. I'm terribly sorry. But you have these different stereotypes that appeal to different people's tastes. And in general, it's just a waifu battle at the end of it. I mean, it's battle for the best girl, I guess. In the /r/manga community that I browse on Reddit quite frequently, I see Quintessential Quintuplets, posted very often. And a lot of the times, it's of a single girl, or being it saying like, "Oh, this is best girl," or something along those lines. And harem anime in general, they are waifu wars at the fundamental level. I think that the Quintessential Quintuplets, implementation of it is pretty standard, really. It's not anything to be, hailed or as a forerunner in its genre. It's definitely doesn't stray too much from the harem formula, and I don't necessarily think that it's anything to praise. That's all to say, if you're still watching the video at this point, I like the Quintessential Quintuplets. I mean, I'm a harem fan at heart. I like seeing myself insert characters. I like seeing them get a bunch of ladies, a putang, whatever. But I just don't think that the anime deserves as much hype as it's getting right now. People are going off about this show, and I'm sitting over here we've had harem anime for years now. Like, where have you guys been? Like, did you watch Nisekoi? Did you watch, you know, The Familiar of Zero? Like, did you watch any of those like shitty harem? Did you watch SAO, the shitty harems? Like, it's not even anything new, really. But you know, if you're watching at this point, I do like the show. I don't mean to shit on people's tastes. If you've made it this far in the video, comment down below, you know, if you think that people are overrating this anime. If you like this kind of content, make sure to leave a like on the video, get subscribed. I have, you know, weekly videos coming out. I'm hoping to do a lot more different topics than I have been. You know, college has been pretty busy, and that's obviously going to be on the forefront of my mind because that's my career. But yeah, I hope you guys had a good day. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.